the cloud. Recording in progress. You know, I want the job of that person who just does those recordings. Welcome to Zoom. Recording in progress. We could actually make those too. I can show you how to make those. Really, really good ones too. Besides that, so here's that commercial that you guys are working on. This is the unedited, no music one. So this is the longer one, right? As you can see, as I play it, there's the video and it's going along and everything's good, right? If by chance in my music though, like say like here, or let's say right about here, let's actually find the exact frame where something changes because maybe that's usually a good spot. So I'm going to zoom in. Remember, my frame rate is identical to the grid, to the video grid. So let's find exactly where the frame changes. It's right here, okay? Let's say right on this point, I want to do a tempo change in my music, but I don't want the video change. Well, first of all, I'll just do a tempo change once. You right click, you go to insert tempo, time signature marker or whatever. And here's where you can change the tempo, right? And so let's say I change it to 260 for whatever reason. And, you know, I could change some other parameters as well. You can also do a gradually transition tempo to next marker, which is actually cool because maybe you're using rubato or a slower transition to a new tempo. That's a good one to check. But for this one, I'm just going to do an immediate tempo change. Okay. So press OK. Now, if you notice, I'll undo that. See how long the video is right now? If I do that again, tempo change, 260, the video got shorter. And the video got shorter because all of a sudden we're speeding everything up. So watch this. We're going to have it. I'll play it a little bit. So we've got this nice, here we go. And then we get our tempo change. Oh, did it do it? It didn't do it. Hold on. With that exact marker there. I have to hide these controls, sorry. Oh, it's right here. Let me move this. You see this up here? This is where the tempo changed, and I can move this wherever. I actually move it to right to the frame where it happens too. We'll pretty much go right there, okay? So it's gonna go, if you look up here, it's 120 BPM and the meter is 4.4. Here it's gonna be 260 and the meter is still gonna be 4.4 because I haven't changed that, okay? So it's playing, I'm gonna just play it a little bit. It's playing, here's the normal tempo. And now all of a sudden it's really fast. Or it's supposed to be. It's not doing it. Well, let's do this. Okay, tempo. And it might be this film because the frame rate was weird. 20, let's do 300. 300 BPM right when we get to there. Okay, so 4.4. And I don't know why it's doing it. It's not doing it right now, but that's what it should do normally. I don't know if it's just the setting I have going through Zoom or whatnot. But whatever happens is whenever you insert a tempo change, it will all of a sudden suddenly change, or you can do the gradual change. So what do you got to do to basically make it so the video doesn't speed up, right? The way to do that is, so let me undo all this. You have your video. Before you start adding music, right click on it, go to item settings, and this will be in most DAWs as well. You just like adding certain parameters to the item specifically, and that the item is that actual little block, this here. If I add other tracks and I have edits of them, each item is just every little block of whatever sound, okay? So I right click on it, go to item settings, and I wanna make sure I have set time base to time. This may be labeled differently in other DAWs, but setting time base to time is where no matter what tempo changes I make, the film will still play at the normal tempo that it's supposed to, that it was created at, okay? That's a really important step when you're scoring for film because you will want a tempo change, especially on your larger projects that you guys are doing. I doubt there will be many on this one because this is 30 seconds or whatever, but on your bigger projects and going forward, it's really important to make sure that the video doesn't change tempo when you change tempo to the music. And so, like I said, other DAWs, you'll have to figure out how to do that. I'm sure you just do a simple Google search or a YouTube search. But I can tell you in Reaper, you click on the actual video item, you go to item settings, and you choose set item time base to time. not to these others, because this will change then with the beats or whatever tempo changes you add. Okay, super crucial. All right. Now there's one more super nerd thing, super like analytical, boring thing that you may not like, but I'll tell you, I can't tell you how important it is to this whole process. Okay. And that is understanding the tempo of the piece of your music versus the frame rate, so frames per second, versus measures. Okay. The reason we have to know this is because, well, first of all, this is what professionals do in the industry. And a lot of it's because they're working with filmmakers who are using what's called time code. And time code is absolutely important to obey when you're making a film score, right? Now, for this commercial, this is not a big deal. You don't have to figure this out for this one. But for larger projects, and especially if you actually get into the industry and get your first job, they're going to expect you to understand how to compose using time code. And the other reason is, if you ever want to make sheet music, which our plan is to have sheet music at the end of this week, right? If you want to make sheet music, you have to be able to calculate the number of measures for whatever piece of chunk of music you're doing. Because if you just start composing in Reaper, if I put on a video and I just start composing, just without paying attention to, not thinking about measures necessarily, just composing music that goes with the film. And that's fine. You can do that. But don't do that if you ever expect to, one, work with like a director, a real director, or two, if you ever want to make sheet music, because you're going to end up with some weird measures, half beat measures, hybrid measures that don't really make sense and are not easy to read, or just not a good situation for giving it to an orchestra to read, okay? Because it has to look good and it has to make sense on paper, not just by your ear, okay? And this is a big part that when Randall and I were doing this was something I wasn't sure if we wanted to get into, just because it's kind of heavy material. But we decided we do want to, because it's a really important tool. So, Carl, you have a question. Turn on your mic, please.
Yeah, more of just like.
Hold on. Let me just keep my audio settings open too. Hold on, right here. Okay, go ahead.
More of just a statement. I think that making it so it'll actually make sense on paper will also make it sound better. Because like your ear is only so accurate, so like
right.
that it'll end up weird because it's like just that little bit off.
Exactly.
So it'll sound better too.
Exactly. It's just going to make more sense. You can't trust your ears. You honestly cannot trust your ears when it comes to this stuff in composing in general. So, another thing we'll talk about this in one-on-ones for sure, but quantizing your music, right? But there's strategic ways to make it have rubato and still have it be quantized and work with a measure, right? People think, well, if I quantize it, it's not going to be as human-like, right? Wrong. You're just not doing it right. There's just a few more steps that are involved to make it do that, right? One example is gradually increasing tempo within your DAW, right? And then you can easily just mark that accelerando in your music, There's all kinds of directives you can put in your music, expression markings, to indicate it, without having to do a whole bunch of extra work with the actual manuscript, the sheet music. In your DAW, you have to do a few other things though to make it sound right? But you can't compose and trust your ear, because you may be a 30-second note off, and then if you go to put that in a score, it's gonna be a 30-second. I tell you once, I transferred a score from a DAW to a notation software, and it gave me, I calculated it was a double dotted 4090 second note. I think it was 10 flags on the note, because I didn't quantize it. I just was composing with my ear, and I dropped it in, and it was so close to the beat, but it wasn't exactly on. And then in my sheet music, I got a 4090 second note. So, and it was double dotted, by the way. So, pretty ridiculous. Okay, we'll run into that. So that's why it's important to quantize, but it's really important to get this next step down really well. Okay, and that is, so let's say I have, I don't know, a minute 38 scene where that we want to add music to in a film. Okay, we call it a music cue, by the way. Really important term for you to know. When I say music cue, Music cue means a moment in a film where there's music. Now, most films don't have continuous music the entire time, right? So they're separated out by cues. C-U-E, cue, like you're cueing when music's going to come. Cue the music, cue the lights, right? So music cues. And so you need to be able to time your music cues based on the frame rate, based on things like that, and then be able to put it on a sheet music. And so you have to know how many measures fits in that time. So I'll just make your life easier. I'm not going to go through the math. I'm not going to show you how the formulas to do it because frankly, I don't do it anymore because there's an app that does it for you. Just like most things in this world, there's an app for that, right? It's amazing. So the app I use, but it's Apple only, unfortunately. It's not an Android app, which again is very unfortunate. So you have to have some sort of Apple device to do it. Now, however, if you don't have an Apple device this week and you want to do it for your bigger project, come to me and we can figure it out. Or anyone else in the class who has the app, which I hope you get it. Okay. So let me just pull it up here on my iPad. I think it's called, so first of all, the thing is, it's called SMPTE is the first thing we have to understand. SMPTE, S-M-P-T-E, SMPTE. And I'll show you what SMPTE looks like. If you go into Reaper and you go to View, and you go down to this thing called Big Clock. And you right click, it might be something else. It might show you like beats and things like that. But if you go to this one right here, hours, minutes, seconds, frames. This is SMPTE. And SMPTE stands for Standard or Society of Motion Picture Television Engineers. So what, I don't really understand how the acronym has anything to do with time code. But when that's just how it is. When we refer to SMPTE, we're referring to time code. And it's specifically this layout of hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. You can see my cursor is at the 17-second marker and 0 frames. I am set to frames, right? So if I move it, you can see, but it's not calculating frames right now. I'm guessing that's because I didn't set my project settings. Give me 1 second here, because it's got to be here. Let's go with that. Okay. Normally it would show frames, but I don't know what's going on with my system right now. None of this is, it never does this. I was doing this right before class. I don't know if it's because I'm plugged in or something. Like, this is weird. It's not showing frames right now. Let me close this out. Save it. Just save. Let's go. Give me 1 second here. Open up and all. Forget it. Start from scratch. Drop in my movie. There. See, what did I do different? Nothing. It's the exact same thing. Now we're seeing frames, okay? So you can see the far right one is frames. Now, 25 frames per second, right? So that means every second of time, we're going to see it go through and cycle through 25 frames before it switches. Okay, if I go in further here, 22, 23, 24, 25. And right on 25 is where it switches over. Okay.
You need to share your
So
screen.
25 frames per second, my grid is set up right to this video. Again, you'll most likely be using 23.97 and 29.97. This 25 frame rate is strange. I don't know how it got set that way, but that's how it is. Okay, let me share screen. I realize I'm not sharing screen. Thank you.
Also,
Here.
Casey,
As you can
It's-
see, 23 frame or 0 frames. Oh, do you see this? Once I shared screen, it stopped doing frames. What? You guys are my witnesses, right? It stopped showing frames the second I started sharing screen. Oh my God, I don't even know. I don't know how Zoom like influences Reaper like that. I don't get that, but that's what it's doing. So if you guys notice, oh wait, now it's showing them. Okay, forget it. I'm just gonna go with it. Just go. Just go with it, man. The app is called hold on, let me pull it up here. It is called SMPTE Score. SMPTE Score. SMPTE Score. I'll show you. It's got an icon. It kind of looks like this one right here. You can see that. My fingers. SMPTE Score. Okay. You pull it up, and you get this nice interface here, and that's it. There's nothing else to it. This is really it. And so this is basically a calculator to help you calculate how many measures you're going to need or how many measures you're going to generate if you have a frame rate of so-and-so and a tempo of so-and-so, okay? If you have X tempo and X frame rate, how many measures is that going to make? Okay? So for example, and you go in here, so you can see this. This is why I wish you all were here. That's okay. I'll try to do this like this. You go in here, click on, oops, no. Click on this little calculator here. I'm trying to do this while I'm looking at Zoom. And you're going to put in your lengths, okay? So let's say you have a cue that is like 1:38 or something. You're going to put that information in here, where it starts, or it stops, or just the duration, right? So I'm going to do the duration here. I'm going to put in 1 minute, 38 seconds, and let's just say 12 frames, because you're going to be down to the frame. That's why we're using SMPTE, right? The time code. You're going to calculate it down to the exact frame, because what did I say yesterday? Film is edited at the frame, at the end and beginning of frames, okay? It's not in the middle of frames. It goes up to exact frames. So your music should be able to line up perfectly with a frame change, okay? Which is often on a scene change or something like that, right? On a new camera angle. Oftentimes it will happen, it will always happen right on a frame. Okay, because what is motion pictures? It's a bunch of still pictures being played successively really fast, right? And 24 of those pictures are played in a row, and that's film, right? Or 29, right? So it's always going to be on a frame when they're editing it. So your music should line up with that, which is why professionals do this, right? Because they can line up things perfectly to when something changes. Okay. So my duration is 1:38. Let's put a start time here. Yes, okay. So my start time is 0, we'll just say. My duration, my end time is 1:38 and 12 frames. And so it's, as you can see, the start time is 0. The duration is 1:38. So that means my end time is 1:38 and 12 frames, okay? You can see that little calculation right there. Now I'm going to do done at the bottom. And now it's going to show me, it's going to show my duration with frames. And now it's going to show me if I have a meter of 4/4. See this meter of 4/4 here? You can change your beat too, your beat divisions and everything here. But I'm on quarter note right now, and I've chosen 4 quarter notes per measure, right? So 1:38 and 12 frames is going to be 49 measures and 1 beat, 1 extra quarter note beat. If I'm doing 4/4 at 120 BPM, you see your tempo is here. If you change your tempo, it'll change that number, right? Let's say I want to do 100, and I can actually go, if I go to 156 BPM exactly, then I have exactly 64 measures of 4/4. Okay. So your tempo will change how many measures, obviously, right? Because it's the same time, it's the same length of 1:38 and 12 frames. But if you're going at a different tempo, you're going to have more measures or fewer measures, right? So it's important to be able to calculate that so that you can then set up your document, your score, to have the correct number of measures. And then there should be no question. And you don't have to sit there and try to edit it to make it fit. Okay, now what happens if we go back to that 120, sorry. And let's say it's 4/4 the whole time. This isn't even counting for meter changes, by the way. Okay, you will have meter changes as well. It's constant in film scoring. Okay, Video games, not as much. Video games, often it's pretty straightforward because it's very loop based. But with film, it's going to change a lot because that's how it is. And so you have 40, and if I go back to my 120 BPM at 4/4 for that length of time, I have 49 measures of 4/4 and then one extra beat. So what can I do to fix that? Instead of having to calculate one measure of 4/4 with new SMPTE, I'm not going to do that. That's ridiculous. What can I do to do that? Yes, Henry, turn on your mic. Oh, that's right. Can you talk into a? If I go to 121 BPM, then it adds 2 beats, 2 more beats. Right. If I go to 119, it's 48 measures and 3 beats. Okay. So what's a quick way we could resolve this? If we have this extra beat hanging out there, but it's got to be exactly 1:38 and 12 frames. And we know exactly how long it's going to be if we do this, right? We have an extra beat. What's just one really obvious, simple thing we could do to fix it?
You'd have a measure of 5/4.
Say it up louder. Execute it. Anyone online?
You could just have a measure of 5/4.
Lucas, are you saying something? Hold on, let me get my speaker on. Hold on, sorry. Audio settings. Hold on, I gotta keep this up because people are gonna talk and I can't hear it if they. Okay, say that again, Lucas.
You could just have a measure of 5/4.
Exactly. That is a quick fix. Have one measure of 5/4 somewhere. It's not a big deal. Or have a couple measures of like a 2/4 and a 3/4, a couple, if you're looking to change things up. If you are completely set on 120 BPM, 4/4, and you don't want to change it all, which, come on, we're composers. We can be creative and change, okay? We can adjust. Remember the ultimate rule of being a film composer or a video game composer? You're not composing for yourself. You're composing to support someone else's story. And to do that, you have parameters and you have to fit your ideas into those parameters. You have barriers, boundaries, and you have to make it work. So one solution could be to make a measure of 5/4 somewhere. Another solution could be to make some different measures of different beat groupings to fit this, okay? Now we could try another one. I could do, what if it was half notes? Same thing, 120. You can also, another thing you can do, you can adjust your tempo to a tempo that works. So I'll go back to that. I'll go back to quarter notes, right? And I was at 120, right? Was it 120? At 120, I have that extra one. Well, what if I went up 2 beats to 122 BPM? Now I have exactly 50 measures instead of 49 and 1 beat. See that? So I literally changed the tempo by 2 clicks, which is very little. Okay. Now you go 5 clicks up and then you're going to feel it, but 2 clicks, you're not really going to feel that too much. You can also drop down. Let's see. But then what's nice is you can find the next closest one that adds whole measures. The next one would be if I dropped my tempo down to 117 from 120. 3 clicks, not a big deal. Then I have exactly 48 measures instead of 49 measures and 1 beat. So I know this can seem kind of tedious, a little pedantic, but I tell you, like, this is a crucial tool to understand when you're doing film scoring and video game scoring. Okay. So being able to calculate tempo, and basically you're ultimately trying to figure out how many measures. That's the ultimate goal of this, is figure out how many measures is it going to be if I go at this tempo with the frame rate that they're using. How many measures is it going to take for me for this section of music that I need to write a music cue for? Now, I would like you guys to do this on your big projects this week. Okay? I don't want you to freeball it. I don't want you to just guess, okay? Because we are going to produce written scores this week, okay? We are going to produce written scores. And I think it's tomorrow, I have a lecture on transferring MIDI notes, MIDI your scores, to notation. Okay, and that's also, that can be very tedious. However, if you are following this is why I'm doing this first. If you're following this formula and use that app, it's a breeze. Also, if you know how to quantize. Now, some of you probably who haven't had a one-on-one with me, maybe you don't know how to quantize your MIDI yet. Some of you already know how to do it before you even walked in this room. But you should understand how to quantize your MIDI scores. Then you can actually have real music, not just music with 4,090-second note, double dotted notes that happen because you didn't quantize it. Oh, my ear, oh, it's right on. Come on, can't you hear that? No, it's a 4,090-second note off. Double dotted, so it's like as close to that as it gets, really. Actually, I mean, you could keep going. There's an infinite number of levels you could go there until you get, yeah, I mean, it's incalculable, basically. Okay, so any questions? Let me open this up here. Okay. Does this make sense?
I'm just wondering if there's like a free version or like an online version of.
There's got to be. I didn't look that hard. I found this
Yeah.
app and I loved this one immediately. This was the first thing that came up and I was like, oh my God, this is the one. This is the way, right? If you're a Mandalorian fan, this is the way. It's exactly what I said. And I was like, I looked at it and I was like, I'll never have to calculate it again. They used to have to do it obviously manually, figuring out, like I mean, it's not crazy hard math, but it's math, and I have to do that. And if you're doing that for every music cue in a film, and by the way, you have to do this for every cue that you write. Now, you're only writing a single cue, I believe, for these projects, right? It's basically just one piece of music that's going to be continuous. Unless you want to take advantage, remember I talked about this yesterday, the elements of film scoring. If you want to take advantage of silence. Now, that doesn't mean turn something in that doesn't have any music and say, I'm taking advantage of silence, Dr. Pelbicki. Casey, you call me Casey. This is a John Cage 4 minutes and 33 seconds kind of film score, right? So no, we're not looking for that. I'm talking about having music playing and then having a moment of silence, a brief moment of silence here and there to, create tension, because that's what silence really does. It can create tension. It can create unpredictability. The music is often telling us the story. It's often guiding us through a story and telling us how to feel. If you watch, oh my God, watch The Lord of the Rings, okay? The music tells you how to feel at that moment. You need to be feeling sad at this moment. You need to be feeling happy at this moment. It totally manipulates us, right? But then if it's doing that and all of a sudden there's a silence and you don't know how to feel, then it's like, oh, this is tense. I'm uneasy. Okay, so feel free to do that too. And that means you might have to have different cues, especially if you're coming in with a different tempo. If you're changing tempos in general, anywhere you change a tempo, you have to create a new calculation. Okay? Anywhere that you change a tempo, you have to create a new SMPTE calculation. And then again, if you're working in Reaper, like I said, and I think other DAWs will too, pull up the SMPTE clock so you can see it. Make sure you can see the SMPTE clock. Sometimes it's built into the transport, which is the play controls and the elapsed time showing all that stuff. Sometimes you have to pull it up as a separate docked item or a separate item. But make sure you can see that big clock or that SMPTE clock so you see hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. And then you can do it exact. Now, again, this commercial, not a big deal. We're not doing this really. The ones that are for tonight. But for your bigger projects, which you are going to set up your document, remember, with your exact frame rates. You're going to set up the document and the grids, everything, so that's at the frame rate of the video you've chosen. How do you find out the frame rate of the video you've chosen? Right click on it, go to properties or details, and you should see it listed there in the metadata. It's usually posted in metadata. And then set your project to that, and then now you can do your calculations properly. If you're doing a film, most of the time it's 23.97, okay, frames per second. If you're doing something from the web or a video game, sometimes video games will do 60 frames per second, okay, so that's a whole nother thing. But make sure you're calculating that every time that there's a tempo change or that you have a tempo, okay? So again, we got a few minutes. I just literally open it up for questions, anything up to this point, not just this stuff, but anything up to this point from this week. Okay, because anything you want to throw out there. Anyone having challenges, some difficulty choosing their project? Is anyone having difficulty coming up with ideas for the music, getting their document, getting it set up in their workflow, in their DAW? Having trouble viewing the video? If you have a one-on-one with me, we'll talk about it then. If you don't, find me or email me or send me a direct message through the group me, and we can find a time to figure out your issues. God, I thought that was Tim. I thought that was actually Kevin for a second when you ducked down. I literally thought Kevin was there, like just staring blanks at me, but no, he's.
He can be good at doing that.
Okay, well, if there's no questions, we'll go from there. Like I said, later today, I have a sound design class. And if you don't know what that is, sound design is sound effects, dialogue, which I'll tell you about 90% of dialogue in film is recorded in post. I'll teach you how to do that. We'll run the whole session on sound design, because if you want to do a project, say you have, just real quick, if you have a clip from something, but you can't get the music removed, if you're ambitious, you can just remove all the sound and replace it all with not just the music, but all the sound effects too, and the dialogue and everything. So, and I would like, if you can come to class for that, because we're going to do some dialogue voiceover recordings, and I'm going to choose some of you to do it from films. We're going to replace the dialogue in some famous films with your voice. We'll practice doing that. So
I
come to
already want to volunteer.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a couple of scenes. I do this with my college students and they love it. It's just a fun little sound design practice. So we'll talk about that later today. So I'll probably see you at the next one. Okay. All right.